67% of couples become roommates after having a baby. Most never recover. But in the next 12 minutes, I'm going to show you the exact 5-step system to get your partner back, without another exhausting, we need to talk conversation. If you're sleeping in the same bed but feeling like strangers, this changes everything. We sleep in the same bed every night, but I've never felt more alone. 6 months ago, you were texting each other silly memes at work. Now your messages are, need diapers, baby's crying, working late, that's it. You used to steal kisses while making coffee. Now you coordinate who's doing the 3 a.m. feeding like you're managing a small business. You've become efficient co-managers of a tiny human schedule, and somewhere along the way, you completely lost each other. If you've ever looked at your partner feeding the baby and thought, who is this stranger, and what happened to the person I married? You're not alone, and you're definitely not broken. What you're experiencing has a name, the roommate phase. And according to research from the Gottman Institute, 67% of couples experience a significant drop in relationship quality within 3 years of having their first child. The scary part? Most never recover. Society tells you this is normal. Of course your marriage changes after a baby. But here's what nobody tells you. This phase doesn't just end by itself. Without intervention, you stay roommates forever. The most heartbreaking part? You both love your baby more than life itself. But late at night, when he falls asleep without saying goodnight, you wonder, did we sacrifice our marriage for our family? The guilt hits because you're not supposed to miss your old relationship. You're supposed to be grateful. But gratitude doesn't fill the loneliness when your partner feels like a polite stranger. Stay with me for the next 8 minutes because I'm going to show you exactly how to get your partner back without another exhausting we need to talk conversation that ends in both of you feeling more misunderstood than before. And why the couple who survives having a baby together doesn't just get back to where they were. They become stronger than the couple who just enjoyed Sunday brunch dates and spontaneous weekend getaways. But first, let me tell you what actually happens in the roommate phase, because understanding the psychology behind it is the first step to getting out. It's not about lack of love, it's about survival mode rewiring your brain. When you have a baby, your nervous system goes into hypervigilance. Every sound might be the baby crying. Every moment of quiet might be an emergency. Your brain literally rewires to focus on threat detection, not connection. Meanwhile, your partner's nervous system is doing the same thing. So now you have 2 people in survival mode trying to maintain a relationship. It's like trying to have a romantic dinner during a fire drill. It doesn't work. Here's where it gets worse. Because you're both stressed, you start interpreting everything your partner does through a negative lens. He leaves dishes in the sink, and instead of he's tired, you think he doesn't care. She doesn't initiate physical touch anymore. And instead of she's overwhelmed, you think she doesn't want me. This is called negative sentiment override, and it's relationship poison that spreads faster than you realize. The tragic part is, you're both trying so hard to be good parents that you forget to be good partners. You're pouring everything into this tiny human, and there's nothing left for the person you chose to create this life with. Then comes the resentment. I'm doing everything. He gets to go to work, and I'm stuck here. She doesn't appreciate anything I do. Sound familiar? This is the point where many couples give up. You start having conversations in your head instead of with each other. If he really cared, he would know I need help. If she really loved me, she would make time for us. Mind reading replaces communication. The physical intimacy disappears, not just because you're tired, though you are exhausted, but because emotional intimacy died first. You can't be physically vulnerable with someone who feels like a critical roommate rather than your loving partner. You stop sharing your day because he wouldn't understand anyway. You stop asking about his work because she's too busy to care. Slowly, you become strangers living in the same house. The baby becomes your only common ground. All conversations revolve around feeding schedules, sleep patterns, and developmental milestones. You forget you used to talk about dreams, fears, and stupid things that made you laugh until your stomach hurt. Some couples stay in this phase for years, They function well as co-parents, but terribly as partners. Their children grow up thinking this is what marriage looks like: functional but cold, efficient but empty. Others don't survive it. The divorce papers cite irreconcilable differences, but the real reason is they became incompatible roommates instead of evolving as intimate partners. They gave up instead of growing up. But here's what I want you to understand. None of this means your relationship is doomed. It means you're human beings trying to navigate one of life's biggest transitions without a roadmap. The roadmap exists. You just weren't given it. Everything I just described is fixable. Not easy. Nothing worthwhile ever is. But absolutely fixable if both people are willing to do the work. And the work isn't as complicated as you think. It starts with understanding one simple truth. The simple truth is this: you cannot love someone you don't know. And right now, you don't know your partner anymore because they've changed, you've changed, and you haven't been paying attention to who they're becoming. So the first step back to intimacy isn't grand gestures or expensive date nights you're too tired for anyway. It's curiosity. Start asking questions like you're meeting them for the first time, because in many ways, you are. What's been the hardest part of your day? What made you smile today? What do you need most from me right now? These aren't relationship therapy questions. They're human connection questions. The second step is what I call micro-appreciations. Instead of "thanks for helping with the baby," try "I noticed you sang to her when she was crying at 2 a.m. and it calmed her down immediately. You're such a natural at this." Specificity rewires your brain to notice partnership instead of problems. When you start looking for things to appreciate, you literally train your nervous system to see your partner as an ally again instead of another source of stress. The third step is creating what I call connection rituals. Not more things on your to-do list, but tiny moments that signal we're in this together. A 15-minute check-in after the baby goes down. A goodbye kiss that lasts 3 seconds instead of the perfunctory peck. Physical touch without agenda. A hand on the shoulder while passing in the kitchen. Fingers intertwined while watching TV. A hug that lingers. The fourth step is defending your couple identity. You're not just co-parents now. You're still lovers, dreamers, partners in crime. Schedule 15 minutes a week to talk about anything except the baby. Your dreams, your fears, your ridiculous observations about life. The fifth step is the hardest but most important. Choosing growth over comfort. Your old relationship is gone forever. The couple who had lazy Sunday mornings and spontaneous adventures, that's your past, not your future. But the couple who can raise a human being together, who can function on no sleep and still choose each other, who can navigate the hardest thing they've ever done, that couple is stronger than you've ever been. This isn't about getting back to where you were. This is about becoming who you're meant to be together. And that process starts with one conversation, one appreciation, one intentional touch, one moment of choosing connection over efficiency. I've worked with hundreds of couples through this transition. The ones who implement these 5 steps don't just survive the roommate phase. They emerge with a deeper intimacy than they ever thought possible. But let me be clear about something. This work requires both people. You can't connection ritual your way out of a one-sided relationship. If your partner isn't willing to engage, that's a different conversation that might need professional help. However, most partners aren't unwilling. They're just overwhelmed and don't know how to start. When you begin showing up differently, asking different questions, offering specific appreciations, most people naturally start responding in kind. Connection is contagious. The timeline isn't overnight. Expect the first 2 weeks to feel awkward. You're literally rewiring your brain and rebuilding trust. Week 3 is when most couples start noticing small shifts. Month 2 is when the changes become sustainable. Some days, you'll nail it. Other days, you'll fall back into logistics and efficiency mode. That's normal. Progress isn't perfect, it's persistent. Every time you choose connection over convenience, you're building your new relationship muscle. And here's what starts happening. Your baby begins seeing what a healthy relationship looks like. Children don't need perfect parents. They need parents who know how to repair, reconnect, and choose each other even when it's hard. 6 months from now, you want to look at your partner and think, we did this. We survived the hardest thing we've ever done together, and we came out stronger. That future is available to you starting today. Next week, I'm covering the physical intimacy piece. How to reconnect when your body feels foreign, when exhaustion is your default state, and when the last thing you want is more touch. Because emotional intimacy sets the foundation. But physical intimacy is what reminds you that you're lovers, not just co-parents. And yes, it's possible to rebuild that connection even when you're touched out and running on fumes. I'll show you exactly how in episode 5. For now, I want you to try one thing today. Ask your partner one genuine question about their internal experience. Not about logistics, not about the baby, but about them. How are you doing with all this change? Drop a comment below with one specific thing you appreciate about your partner today. Not because they're perfect, but because appreciation is the antidote to resentment. And if you're watching this feeling hopeless, remember, this phase doesn't last forever. You're not broken. Your relationship isn't doomed. You're just two people trying to figure out how to love each other through one of life's biggest transitions. And with the right tools and enough patience with yourselves, you absolutely can do this. The roommate phase is temporary, if you make it temporary. The couple who chooses to grow together instead of growing apart doesn't just survive having a baby. They discover a love deeper than they ever imagined possible. That's your invitation.